Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be another classic Christmas movie review for you guys. And, of course, as I said in the last video, I would be reviewing this franchise. I would be reviewing all three of them. And, this is going to be my review for the sequel to the Santa Claus. The 2002 Christmas romantic comedy, The Santa Claus 2. Now, The Santa Claus 2 is a movie that I was, definitely, when it first came out, I was, of course, I've seen this one just as much as I've seen The Santa Claus, okay? I'm going to say this right now. Santa Claus, even though I said I've seen that movie the most, I've seen all three of these at the exact same length. Like, I've seen all of these as much as I've seen The Santa Claus 2 as much as I've seen The Santa Claus as the first Santa Claus. I've seen the third one as much as I've seen the first one. That's how much I love these movies. I've seen them all just as much, pretty much, and that's why I love these movies so much. But The Santa Claus 2 came out, of course, a long time after the last one. So, of course, you have to think, does this movie work? And is it a good sequel? Yes, I think this is a good sequel, in my opinion. I think that it is a good enough sequel. Is it as good as the first one? No, it's not as good as the first one. In fact, this movie actually has quite a few problems and is actually a mixed bag for me. There are a lot of things I really love about this movie. There are a lot of things I don't like about this movie. But let's get to the plot of The Santa Claus 2. Basically, the plot of The Santa Claus 2 is now that Scott has fully transformed into Santa, there is one little detail that they left out of the clause, of course, the contract. And Bernard tells him about this, when they have this new elf, Curtis, working there. And Curtis left that out of the handbook. Basically, the news is that there is another clause, and that is the Mrs. Clause, which basically, the Mrs. Clause is if Scott does not, basically, he must find a bride within 8 years of, his first, assuming the new job is Santa. Which basically means that he has to get married right before the next Christmas Eve, before it's Christmas Eve, or he's no longer Santa. So, of course, Scott has to do that, and there are a bunch of other plots going on as well. He also decides to go back to, he decides to go back to his hometown because his son, his son Charlie is getting, is being very rebellious and is acting out in school, and he wants to connect with him more. And there's a lot of other things going on with this movie, and that's sort of the problem for me, but that's basically the plot of The Santa Claus 2. Now, let me say something about this movie. That is a very good plot in my opinion. I think the plot of him finding a Mrs. Claus, we all knew that was coming. We all knew they were going to do that because you can't have Santa Claus without having Mrs. Claus. You have to have Mrs. Claus in there. And I like this movie shows that because you have to have her in there. So I like that the movie did that in my opinion. I think that was well done. But this movie has quite a few problems, and we'll get to why. Let's first get to the acting in this movie. The acting in this movie is very good, in my opinion. I really, it's definitely just as good as the acting in the first one. Tim Allen is still great as Scott Calvin. He still is fantastic, but let me say my issue actually comes with something with Scott Calvin. When Santa goes, away from the North Pole, they basically have to get a replacement Santa. So, they get a toy Santa who is completely dumb and completely clueless, and, his character, for me, ruins the movie. I think his character is really funny at first, but when they turn him into, this dictator character and made him try to, be upset because the children were acting up, I understood the idea, but it just did not work for me. I did not see him as a villain at all. I saw him as a fun character. I didn't see this toy Santa as a villain, and it did not work. Honestly, I didn't think this movie really needed a villain. I feel they only had him in there to have a villain, and it did not work for me. And that's one of the things that really bothered me about the movie. And Tim Allen still did a very good job in a dual role, but he was very good as Scott Calvin. One of the things I like that the movie shows is that we spent a lot more time on him as Scott Calvin in this movie than we do as Santa, because, of course, the de-Santification is starting, which is when, slowly he starts to go back into how he looked in this movie. How that look right there. He goes back to that in this movie, basically. And I thought that they did that very well, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Eric Lloyd as Charlie, still fantastic. Not as good as he was in the first movie, but I do really like his character in this movie. You know, he had a really hard secret to keep, and you can tell that him being separated from Scott is definitely taking a toll on him. And he's now 16. He's seeking attention. You know, basically it caused him to get into a lot more trouble. You know, and it's interesting to see him do these things. And I think it's well done, definitely. I think that Eric Lloyd still did a very good job. And I like that he was still a central part of the story, because Charlie is such a big part of the story, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And all the scenes between him and Scott, Scott were still great. And we got a few new additions to this cast. The best one being Elizabeth Mitchell as Charlie's principal, Carol, who, as I said before, I love Elizabeth Mitchell. I think she's a great actress. She was in Once Upon a Time. I actually forgot she was in this movie. I didn't know she played Carol, but now it makes sense why. Because when she first plays Principal Newman, when we first see her, she's very, sort of just, tough as nails. She doesn't seem to care very much. And, basically, Scott ends up connecting with her, and she, I'm just gonna spoil it, ends up becoming Mrs. Claus. I think we all pretty much know that. I thought their chemistry was perfect. Their chemistry was spot on. Honestly, their chemistry in the movie was probably my favorite part of the movie, and most of my favorite scenes in the movie have to do with their plot, and I think that they just handled it perfectly. I love Carol's character. You know, she's a character who used to believe in Santa, but now she doesn't because of personal reasons of things that happened to her. It's a lot like what happened to Laura and Neil, and I think that's very well done the way they did that. Again, it really shows the central message of this movie, and that is seeing is seeing is not believing, believing is seeing, and the movie really shows that very well, even better in this movie, I think. I think they definitely did a very good job with that. Wendy Crewson is back, of course, as Laura, and Judge Reinhold as Neil is back, and it was really funny to see Neil kind of be portrayed as just a fun guy in this movie, because, of course, in the first one, he's very, very tough and everything. He's sort of like the antagonist, but in this, he's just a fun character, and it was cool to see that fun side of him, because we didn't get to see that in the first one. So to see Neil just, be a goofball in this movie was actually very funny to watch, and, of course, he still does have... But they didn't change his character. It's not like a random character switch where he's not smart anymore. No, he still is a psychiatrist. It still gets on Scott's nerves, only now he's, best friends with Scott. So I like seeing it. I thought that was well done. I enjoyed seeing that a lot. I thought that was very well done. We also have Leanna Murray now as Lucy, who I like her character. I know a lot of people said she ruined the movie or whatever, and that she ruined this franchise. She made it really annoying. Regardless of what happens to her in the third one, in the second one, I think she's a very good character. Her character is basically, very suspicious of Scott. I thought her chemistry with Scott was very good as well. She was a good actress, definitely. I mean, she was 6 years old, and she was a good actress when she did this movie. And I thought she did overall a pretty good job. I thought she was really good in the movie. David Krumholtz is back as Bernard. He, of course, is very good. One of the things I forgot to say in the first one that I love about his character is how sarcastic he is. He's so funny. He's sort of the smart ass of the movie, but he's still very funny to watch, and I thought he was very good. Spencer Breslin as Curtis is also a new character. I thought he was good overall, and one of the other things I love this movie does is the council of the other beliefs, like Mother Nature and Father Time and the Easter Bunny and Cupid. I like that addition to the movie. I think they add them well in there, and everyone in this movie that they added pretty well. I thought that was well done, definitely. The directing by Michael Lemberg, I think, was very good, except when we focused on the North Pole. Everything was going on the North Pole was extremely ridiculous. Just the fact that they turned him into, a dictator, I didn't like that at all, and it really brought the movie down a lot for me. If we could have made him just a fun character who didn't know what he was doing, I would have understood that, but make him have a huge personality and make him have a new personality and turn into a villain, it did not work for me, because again, this is a toy Santa. He's not really threatening, and I understand what they were trying to do. It didn't work. I'm sorry, but no, it does not work when you try that. The screenplay I thought was good as well. Cinematography is even better in this. I mean, it's 2002, so obviously cinematography is going to be at least a little bit better, and I thought the cinematography was even an improvement in this movie. The score still is great. The editing still is great. And I think this movie definitely was a good sequel. It did what a good sequel should do. It's not as good as the first movie. It has a lot of things I really like. Also, I think this movie is also very funny. It has some very good funny moments. It probably has actually the most heart out of the three movies. It actually really does. My favorite scene has to be, and I have to talk about this scene because it's my favorite scene in the movie. My favorite scene in the movie has to be when Scott and Carol go over to that parent, to like that faculty part, the holiday party, and no one's having a good time, no one's talking, everything, and Scott makes all that magic happen with the bag of gifts. I just love that scene. You can see in every single one of those adults that they just light up and start acting like a kid again. It really shows the true point of this movie and really what this whole franchise is trying to show. And it really is showing just we all have that kid in all of us, and I think I love that scene. It always is the scene that I remember the most when I think about this movie, and it always has been my favorite scene. I definitely need to talk about that scene. But that's basically my review of the Santa Claus 2. Overall, guys, I think this is a good sequel. It has a few problems. It's not really bad. The first, scene of this movie, I don't like it very much. I don't really like the way this movie begins. It's really weird. I don't know. I thought that was weird. The ending of this movie, I like. I like that at the end of this movie, of course, Charlie and Scott do end up telling Lucy that he is Santa Claus. Just, you can see her light up and everything. It's great to see that Scott is still going to do that for people, and I think that's really well done. I definitely really like seeing that. The post-credit scene in this movie is ridiculous. Don't even want to talk about that. But that's basically my review of the Santa Claus 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think of this movie. If you guys have not seen Santa Claus 2, watch it now. I think it's a very good sequel. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still very good. And it's definitely better than what I'm going to review next. And of course, the next one's going to be for Santa Claus 3. Which is probably going to be one of my most controversial reviews, because I actually don't hate that movie. And I'll explain why. Actually, with some very good points as to why I don't hate that movie. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for my review of the Santa Claus 3. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.